behind me is the Hyundai Veloster N, and we are at the Florida International Rally and Motorsports Park, the official test track of Grassroots Motorsports here in Keystone Heights, Florida, to see if this 275 horsepower front-wheel drive Hyundai can stand up on track to the legendary Honda Civic Type R. Now, we were lucky enough to have a Civic Type R on this very same track just a few weeks ago, and I cannot wait to get the Veloster out there and see what it is like. And I am curious whether the fact that this Hyundai has a 25 plus horsepower deficit to that Honda is going to punish it on track when it comes to lap times. I'm very excited to see what kind of lap times this Hyundai Veloster N can produce here at the firm. All right, so after a track session with the Hyundai Veloster N, I have some thoughts and I have some feelings, and they are universally positive. The level of drivability that this car demonstrates is fantastic. You can take somebody who has never driven a car on track before, and if you had to make me pick what car would I want somebody to be on track for to experience the full sort of range of possibilities of a good handling car on track, it would be this one. The car's not going to do anything to weird them out. It's not going to do anything too unexpected. It's going to give them a fantastic sense of drivability and capability. So I guess I will go ahead and let you in on a little secret right now, and that is, according to our data in here, we are about 0.2 of a second faster in this car at the Florida International Rally and Motorsports Park than we were in the mighty Honda Civic Type R. That is amazing to me, considering this car has 25 less horsepower. But I think when we get back and look at all of our AEM data on this, I think we're going to see that a lot of that additional speed is taking place on corner entry, mid-corner especially, but the corner entry is dramatic because this car communicates with the driver so well through the steering wheel, and it lets you adjust the attitude of the chassis in a very precise way on the brakes. But the steering in this thing, literally as good as any steering of any car I can remember driving. Like, you can compare this to like a Porsche 944 from back in the day. You can get the chassis to move around and rotate. If you do things that are counterintuitive, if you trail brake a little bit too abruptly into a corner, or modulate your braking a little hard towards the end of a braking cycle on turn-in, you can get that rear end to pick up a little bit and loosen up and scoot over, but it never feels like you're going to lose control of the car. The 8-speed DSG gearbox, very much an upgrade for track use for this car. I've driven this car with the 6-speed. It's fantastic. You can heel and toe, but the paddles are very well placed. The shifts are really seamless. You get just a little bit of an audible indication at the shift points, and also you've got a nice shift light right on the dash to remind you. And there's only one spot here on the track where I'd like either a little bit more third gear or a little bit less fourth gear. But in general, it's always in the right gear for stuff. Different tracks that might be a little different, but those track gears, the third, fourth, fifth gears that you're going to be in on most tracks, really nicely spaced and really nice at showcasing all 275 horsepower of this engine. I would not be a bit surprised if 275 is underrating this engine at all. At $5,000 less than a Civic Type R, you know what? I don't even care if it's a hot take. In my mind, there's no comparison. This is a more enjoyable, more fun, more drivable track car than the Civic Type R. There, I said it, and I'm standing by it. This thing is just utterly fantastic. Okay, lap times are one thing, but data tells the real story. Let's go take a look at our AEM data and see what this car was doing objectively here on the track. Okay, when we look at our AEM data on the Veloster N, it's really most interesting in comparison to the Honda Civic Type R data that we got a couple weeks ago when we tested that car, because we actually went a couple tenths of a second faster in the Hyundai Veloster N than we did in the Civic Type R. And I want to see if the data tells us where that's happening. Now, on track, I think I mentioned that a lot of the speed felt like it came from the car just being easier to drive than the Civic Type R. So let's see if the data actually tells us that. So first thing I'm noticing here is an area where you can see the Hyundai speed trace. This top section here is the speed, This middle section is lateral G of the vehicles, and this bottom section is longitudinal G of the vehicles. And you can see the Hyundai trace in white and the Civic Type R trace in orange here. So what's going on here is we have a straightaway coming out of the slowest corner on track, and we're accelerating down the second longest straightaway, essentially at the firm, towards a big left-hand sweeper. So look what we can see here is, first off, we see the dual clutch transmission of the Hyundai really reducing the time on acceleration between shifts. These little pauses right here are shifting of the Honda. We also see when the Honda shifts into fourth gear right here, it gives up a little bit of acceleration to the Hyundai. Look at this section right here, and we can see that that Honda has actually dropped off in fourth gear just a little bit. It may have actually been better to hold third, because you can see the curves, the angle that that both cars are accelerating at is very similar. So both cars are pulling just about as hard in third gear. That Hyundai though just keeps pulling, whereas when the Honda shifts into fourth, it does fall off a little bit. Both of them turn into the corner very well. We can see our G traces over here where the cars transition from braking to cornering very, very well. They both trail brake extremely well. But let's scroll back just a little bit to another little telltale area, which is this section right here. So watch the video over here. You can see that we're going into a high-speed right-hand kink. This is a very fast third or even fourth gear corner for many cars. And I talked about the Hyundai being easier to drive than the Honda Civic. Well, this video is the Hyundai, but look at the speed trace. In fact, we'll even zoom in on this area right here that I'm highlighting. And we can see the speed trace of the Honda fall off just a little bit while the Hyundai remains strong all the way to turn-in. That is driver confidence. That is basically wanting to have a little bit of extra room in that Honda, where the very precise, the very communicative steering of the Hyundai lets us hold this little bit of extra speed all the way to the turn-in point of this fast right-hand corner. If you look at some of our lateral G numbers, we can see as we go through here that both cars, corner very, very similarly. Our peak lateral G is very similar in both cars, so not much to worry about there. But yeah, even though the Hyundai has a little bit lower horsepower, you look at this area right in here, it's got a little more acceleration in the top of third gear, whereas that Honda falls off a bit in fourth gear. There's a little bit of time there, and on the turn-in to some of these trickier corners like this one right here. So can we look at the data from our AEM system here and conclusively say that one car is faster than the other one? You know what? I don't think we can, but I think what we can conclude here is on this day, in these conditions, with this driver, we did manage to squeak a little more speed out of the Hyundai than we did out of the Honda. I also think we can conclude that despite the 25 horsepower advantage that the Honda holds over the Hyundai Veloster N, these cars are much more evenly matched than those horsepower figures might lead us to believe. Folks, if you're enjoying our track test and all of the content we do here at Grassroots Motorsports, please visit us online at grassrootsmotorsports.com. If you're watching on YouTube, go right down here, click that subscribe button, throw us a like. We would appreciate it. Stay safe. We will see you at the track next time.
Support brands that support Grassroots Motorsports. Get your chemical solutions from CRC Industries. Visit crcindustries.com to learn more.